messages. You know.
Good.
Yeah, because we got to. Want to say we good. We good. This brother, Spurgeon is he's a filmmaker. The brother that's doing right now. So we got an actual filmmaker. What was the name of the documentary you did with Taffeta?
It was called Broke, Struggling, and Still Independent.
Broke, Struggling, and Still Independent. Anybody seen that documentary? It was about a group of songwriters.
Yeah.
And musicians. You know, some sisters, right? But 3 sisters. Four sisters, and they were trying to get into the music industry, and some were successful, and then some, you know. So it was just very, very interesting. You can hit him up and find out how to get that piece. But we also want to you don't want to put your number on here right quick. I mean, let me say your number or something for these people to get it. I know you're gonna add that all in, but for the people here, because you know, never know, man. Like I said. You might need him for something. You know what I'm saying? Small documentaries, types of shoots, or any type of thing. So we need to know the professional people that we got access to. You see what I'm saying? And help the brother out. You know, like I said, he's rising up. But we do have a filmmaker here, and so he's gonna do all the editing and all this kind of stuff also. So we want to say that. Also want to say that this is I think this is going on 3 years now since I've been in Atlanta. You know, since I lectured in Atlanta. Last 2 lectures I did in Atlanta was at my house. One reason why I stopped lecturing in Atlanta because I couldn't get my honorarium, which is what I charge all over the place. Now I lecture at least once a month in all the other cities. It's just that a king is without honor in his own home. So I guess they had years for having me for, you know, passing the hat or either, you know, little $300 or whatever type thing here and stuff, you know. So I was like, well, hell, you know, I can't get my honorarium and stuff. And then what started happening was, we got the brother Gene here who did some of the lectures in the early 2000s, and you know, we just thug-like people, man. You know, we'd come in and we'd do the lecture, then the people would go up on the rent the next time because the turnout was good. You know, at first they will, you know, we do anything, almost give you the building because they want business. You know what I'm saying? You know, and they figure it's just going to be a little mediocre thing and they can just put a couple of them together and make whatever they're going to do. But what happened here is, yeah, tell them, look, tell them, that takes, so they're going to have to be quiet. That takes up real big, you know. So we try to be professional now, like NBC and shit, you know. HBO, because I curse, so. But anyway, what the deal here is and so they would have us to come out with the buildings. And this happened about 3 times. And we do an event and all the people come out. Then they was like, oh, we can make money off this. The next time they would go up. Okay, we paid that. And the next time they just got ridiculous. I mean, that was it called A-Hop or something at the time?
Yeah, A-Hop.
Man, they went up one month. We came back the next month. They just went, like, well, dog, we're going to pay you all the money just to have the thing. You know, we're not going to make nothing. So, you know, and it's just that thug type mentality type thing that's going down. You know, we do that to each other. You see, everybody's, you know, nobody has no integrity no more when it comes to each other, when it comes to black folks. Everybody just, you know, just trying to get, you know. And the same thing happened, okay, I was supposed to do one, because we're going to honor C. Freeman L. I should have got another picture of him, but I got one we'll put in the insert. Another picture, we'll put in the insert. And Brother C. Freeman L. passed last March of 08. So I did a eulogy for him in New York, and I did one in Detroit. And I said, well, I really need to do one. We had a private eulogy for him here, but I said, no, we really needed to do one on film for Atlanta, because this is where he taught. And so at the Soul Edge, the brother Kevin brought in Delbert Blair. He was supposed to bring in Delbert Blair one month. He was supposed to bring in Phil Valentine the next month. And then I was supposed to come in July and do the eulogy as well as lecture for Brother C. Freeman L. Well, here goes again. They brought in Delbert Blair. The people there, they looked around, they saw what was going on. These are a lot of younger brothers now, that damn Generation X. You see what I'm saying? Type cats, you know. with the bling bling and all that, even though they supposed to be Hebrew Israelites and stuff. So what happened was, they saw what was going on, so the next time they raised the rent on, the brother, so he couldn't bring Valentine, and of course that canceled me out. So now we just not getting to do the eulogy, getting ready to recognize Brother C. Freeman a year later. You see what I'm saying? A year later. So, but the thing about it is, like I said, so by him being back in Atlanta, we want to deal with the brother C. Freeman. Now C. Freeman, his drink of choice was Old English 800. Now I went to go get the 40, but I said, wait a minute, hold on. C. Freeman was like 70 something when he died, so the 40 ounce would not be his era. And he did drink out of the can. But when I went in the store, I said, I'm going to get that 40 ounce. You know, I'm thinking like, you know, another generation. I said, I'm going to go get that 40 ounce. And when I went in there and I looked at the 40, I said, no, that ain't C. Freeman. Now, he ain't, you know, he ain't, I said, you know, that's, you know, I said, that started with me back in college. Niggas get them 40s and stuff like that. And then it passed on down to the generation that's ruling now. But I said, no, C. Freeman was like, I think he was like, I guess he was about like 70, 71 or something. And so I said, well, and I knew he used to drink out of the can and stuff. Out of the can. So some people say, well, is that spiritual? Go get the movie Forbidden Kingdom. That was a movie with Jackie Chan. And they was getting ready to go to a certain level, and he said, no, I can't go to that realm. He said, why? He said, because I'm immortal, and the liquor ain't in that realm. The alcohol ain't in that realm, so I can't roll on that realm. You see what I'm saying? And that's why when you see any of the deities, you got to have the alcohol with them. You see what I'm saying? You got to have the alcohol. It's called espiritos. So where the alcohol don't flow, the deities ain't going to be around. You see, ain't going to be around. So it's just interesting here. So he had gotten his immortal drink on even before he left the planet with the Old English 800. Now, and I realized something about it because it's very spiritual. Number one, he wore the fez, and the fez was burgundy. And so you got the gold. They got a book called The Golden Trade of the Moors. And the fez was burgundy, but the Moors actually entered into Europe in the late 800s on into the 700s. Old English 800. So now we understand that you know, Britain and the whole European thing got their entire underpinning or structure from the Moors. You know, the coat of arms, you see the coat of arms, those are the Moorish things, the Moorish coat of arms. You see what I'm saying? So he was rolling with his drink of choice long before, but it was always something spiritual in there. But always something spiritual. Now the thing about C. Freeman was this. This is when you know you got a true master rolling. And also I want to show you this because they got these debates that's going on in the next week or so in New York. This is the god Vishnu and Shiva. When there's a god Shiva in India and Vishnu, but when they merge together, they become Hari Hara, and Hari Hara wears the fez. This is the first origin of the fez. Now you know the fez. We know the origin of it in the modern day would come from around Turkey. But then again, all of that was Moorish territory, but Turkey and all of that is connected with the whole region that used to be a part of ancient India, all of that particular area. So they're connected. So the fez, the origin of the fez, comes from the god Hari Hara. The god Hari Hara. And I'm like, I show another one. I think I got another one. Another one down here. Where there's the god Vishnu on the walls. Here it is. The god Vishnu on the walls of India. Now I should have got a better color copy. But right here he's wearing the fez. This is the sleeping Vishnu. Vishnu goes to sleep in the summer months and wakes up in the fall. Wakes up in the fall. We'll go into some of that particular science. But going back, he wears the fez. Now, the thing about what made C. Freeman a true master was this. He would say things, and probably those things he said you really wouldn't recognize. You wouldn't think much of it. You wouldn't think nothing, and then it would come to pass later on. It was certain things, you know. And so I'll give you an example. Right now, we got a lot of conscious people that's started studying the conspiracy. And as a result, they done got trapped in the conspiracy. You're trapped in the conspiracy. So put your phone on buzz, or whatever you call it, whatever, pulsator, whatever. You know. So they get trapped in the conspiracy. And they become paranoid. And what happens here is they start studying only the ruling class. I don't want to say powers that be, because they on the way out of power. They only study the ruling class agenda. You see what I'm saying? So everything is what they're going to do next and what they're going to do now. The Illuminati going to do this, the Illuminati going to do that. And they study the ruling class agenda. And what it does is it takes you out of even striving to even understand what your agenda is. Right. So a lot of people tell you all the stuff that's going on with the conspiracy and the paranoia. But when you ask them, well, what's your agenda? They don't know. Because their agenda is studying when we go into, it's like the King Alfred plan. We go about the concentration camps. We come to find out that the government put that stuff out in the 80s. The Rex 84. They got it from an actual book. It was a book at first that some guy wrote. And then so this idea is pretty good. And so the Rex 84. But the key here is in mind control, if you put out an agenda that you go into the concentration camp, you see what I'm saying? You don't even have to lock them up. You don't have to give them to a for the simple fact that there's a threat of a concentration camp means that they can contain you and they don't never have to put you in a concentration camp. You see? And so as a result, this conspiracy has been going on for the last, the Rex 84 one came out in 1984. You see, 1984. What's that, about 24 years? Going on 25 years. We got it in the late 90s, like 1989, when Khalid Muhammad and other people started discussing the King Alfred plan. But the thing about it is, I did a lecture in Chicago last year, and they were like, when you talk about the concentration, we're not going to no damn concentration camp. And the people was actually upset that I told them they wasn't going to the concentration camps. And I said, they done made a mindless slave out of you, and I give you some good news, you upset because you want the bad news. I'm like, come on, man, get the hell up out of here. I used to speak on the concentration camps in the 90s until I realized, hey, this is some bull. You see what I'm saying? They can contain you by just giving you that threat. It's like the 9/11 thing. They ain't got to blow up the building but once. And now all of a sudden everybody's saying terrorism is an imminent threat. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? When Bush and them blew up the building, they only had to do it once. You see what I'm saying? And all the laws are created off that one incident. So it's the same thing. But the reason why I'm going back to see Freeman, I was saying something about some conspiracy about 11 years ago, because in 2008, no, in 98, we had our office down at Starbucks at the Equitable Building downtown. There's a Woodrow Park. Across the street is the Equitable Building, and they had a Starbucks down there. So we was to go down there and sit down and just, kick around ideas and all kind of stuff like that. And I mentioned something about a conspiracy one time, and he said, hey man, why even worry about some shit that you can't do nothing about? You don't even know the people, that's the conspirators. So that's burning up energy. Why worry, he was to say things like that, why worry about stuff that you can't do nothing about? And I was like, man, at first I was like, well, we speaking this general information, but it came true. For the simple fact we locked in this whole conspiracy thing. And he would say several things like that. He would say several things like that and all, and those things would come true. So I find myself often saying, well, C. Freeman said that. But at the time, that's how the true master is. It's the same thing if you go, when you see Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. No, not Return of the Jedi, The Empire Strikes Back. When he told him he's supposed to go see Yoda, the Jedi Master. And when he got there, Yoda was a little old runt, living in a shithole eating stew. And he treated him with a heavy hand. Until he realized, you see what I'm saying? So until he realized that the master ain't gonna come with all the flowing gold and all the type of stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? It could be the drunken master. That's what the whole thing happened with Jackie Chan. You see what I'm saying? And also, the master always appears, you see what I'm saying, in unconventional ways. You see, and it's interesting. So, when they say certain things, you might not catch it, or you might have to grow into it. You know, might have to grow into it. So he was a true master in the sense, and so if you can access Brother C. Freeman L's works, so we're gonna spit to him. I don't want to pull on these people's rug or nothing like that. Mess around, stuff be smelling like barley and stuff. But we're gonna spit to C. Freeman L. Yeah, we're gonna spit to C. Freeman L. I guess that was him hollering out. That's how the spirits work. You be interested. They say, you know, you be eating some potato chips and the bag will fall out your hand or something will fall on the floor. That's the spirits wanting that. You see what I'm saying? That's the spirits wanting that. And you know. And the spirits they're not as sophisticated. They're like children. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the innocence. That's once you leave the physical body and you get out of this ego, you go back to that innocence aspect. You see what I'm saying? So that's the key to spirituality, is to be more like a child. So you have to get rid of a whole lot of pride and different things like that, you know. It's like me, you saw me when I got out of college, I wouldn't have dared stood before you over 200 and something pounds. You see what I'm saying? I had too much vanity for that. You see what I'm saying? And stuff like that, you know. But my point here is, the spirit world works in a certain way. We're going to go into all of that today. But we're gonna poke to C. Freeman L. with his drink of choice, with his drink of choice, and then we're gonna spit some rum to the master over the graveyard, Baron Samedi. This is Baron Samedi, and we'll go into some of that. This is Baron Samedi, which is interesting. Baron Samedi was a project that was put together recently by the Skull and Bones. Now the Skull and Bones is a secret society out of Yale or what have you. So they decided, well, hey, we need the real deal. So, you know, they said not stuff we make up, but we need to get the indigenous stuff. So when they blew the levees in Katrina and the bodies started stacking up, because remember now, Katrina didn't hit, basically New Orleans weathered Katrina. It hit Mississippi and Alabama, but New Orleans was fine until they blew the levees. But they started marking these X marks on all the doors. And they was marking these X to this particular deity, Baron Samedi. Baron Samedi. And so as a result, trying to usurp the power by trying to appease him. He's a deity that wears the top hat. That's why I have on the top hat. We'll go into what these all symbols mean. The gray one represents marriage. And so that had to come into play. Right after the inauguration. I'll show you the magical part on stuff that's happening. But this is the traditional one of Baron Samedi, which is the top hat and the skeleton with the snakes. Top hat and the skeleton with the snakes, the feather in the hat. He has a cross on, and this particular one was done in 2000 by a lady that's dead now. I think it's a white lady that did this in 2000, and she's dead now. But under the bottom it says Baron Samedi, the deity of resurrection. Now let me go into some of the science on that. Is this? So she did this particular poster. Now you can somehow, I don't know how much you have to go to New Orleans, you have to find the poster, but you can also download this color one off of the internet also. I got the black and white one for sale. Now this one here is rare. This one is rare. I had to go and search in some other stuff to get this one, as far as this particular one here. And this is the other poster of Baron Samedi. Now, the word Samedi means Saturday. which is also after Saturn. And Saturn, you see, and I will go into some other science in a few minutes, but anyway, they tried to usurp this power by marking all of the dead bodies, or the houses with the dead, contain the dead bodies. They marked the houses with that to feed Baron Samedi those spirits. And as a result, it woke Baron Samedi up, which is a plus for us, because it's our ancestral energy. You see, you trace him back to Africa, he was Babalu Aye, which you know Desi Arnaz sings at the club Babalu. That's Babalu Aye in Africa. You see, Babalu Aye in Africa. So if you trace it back if you trace it back there, that's who that is. But as it comes through Haiti, he becomes Baron Samedi, and he really flourished when he comes to New Orleans. When he comes to New Orleans, that's when the top hat comes. Why? The top hat, well, number one, the top hat at a particular time in this particular deity, the energy was being conceived, the perception of him. At that particular time, the slaves looked at Abraham Lincoln as the great emancipator, and at that particular time, Abraham Lincoln wore the top hat. You see, so as a result, they put together this particular deity because the top hat was also fashionable at the particular time, during the particular time of the 1800s when they put this together. You see what I'm saying? And they had different eras of the particular top hat. Now the mystery here is, this is one picture of him. Now if you get the movie Living Let Die, the guy Jeffrey Holder plays Baron Samedi, the skeleton deity in the movie Living Let Die. It was 1972. You see what I'm saying? Which was Roger Moore's first stint at the whole James Bond thing. You see, and so as a result, which is this particular the movie poster, Live and Let Die, which right here is Baron Samedi, which is the death card, which is the tarot card is death, which is new beginning. And also, this is the first time, the first black Bond girl was Gloria Hinder, that later on played with Jim Kelly and Black Belt Jones, and also in Black Caesar. Popular at that time in the so-called black exploitation type thing. So, well, she was the first black love interest when they tried to spice things up. But it was set in New York and set in New Orleans. Set in New Orleans. But all this is just interesting around Baron Samedi. Around Baron Samedi. So you can still get this. They just re-released this again, this movie again on DVD. Digitally enhanced and all that type of stuff. But Jeffrey Holder plays him in the actual movie. Now the key here is that they woke him up, and as a result, because so many bodies died. So many bodies died at that time. It fortified the power. Because we talk about thousands of bodies. Remember they said they got about 5,000 black men that just disappeared after Katrina? Just disappeared. They don't know where they are. Well, what happened with that, is after Katrina they had all these thousands of law enforcement that came in. And the first thing they did here is certain people they wouldn't let out on the bus to go to Houston and those places. So they said if you didn't have immediate family, or if you didn't have any children, they wouldn't let you out. So they had a whole certain black demographic that if they didn't have automobiles or they couldn't free, they would not let them out. They would not let them out of the actual. Tell me not to put that on pause, because this is people will be talking shit because this go around the country. Who's that nigga with that cell phone on or something like that, so. But anyway, or turn it down or something. But anyway, they didn't let these certain brothers out, and basically when they had the law enforcement come in, they just shot for sport. They just shot for sport and just started killing people. You see what I'm saying? You know, and so as a result, so even all that sacrifice went to Baron Samedi. So when he rose up in June and July of the past year, '08, very powerful force and a very powerful ally. But it's interesting here because they talk about it in alchemy that in the last days, there will be a skeleton figure that will rise up. A skeleton figure. And it was talking about this tarot card, if I can find it, called Death. It's documented in a DVD called Secrets of Alchemy by Jay Wiedner. We got a lot of good information today. You know, a lot of good information today. But I wanted to see if I had the tarot card. I just saw it earlier. But we'll go back to it. But anyway, so to go on, they talk about a skeleton figure that would arise. Now, let's take this back to ancient Kemet. You have the god Osiris in most of dynastic Kemet, and then you have later on a god called Osirionophis. That is a Coptic form of Osiris. That's in the later day Egyptian. When the Coptics came, it's later day Kemet, or later day Egypt, and it's a god called Osirionophis. And then Osirionophis is later on changed by what you would either call the Hebrew or what we call the Akhenaten's crew. You see what I'm saying? That's where we can trace the origin of that. Is the Osirionophis is changed to Sabbath. So it's Osiris, or Osar, Osirionophis, and then the god Sabbath, where you get the Sabbath from. Saturday, ruled by Saturn. And then Sabbath, you see, in the modern world, is Baron Samedi, Saturday, Saturn. You see, or Saturn Chronos is a god called Chronos in the Greek thing, or what we call Phoenician, which is Father Time. So they say this Chronos figure will come around again. That's this whole Mayan cycle and all this type of stuff, and everybody is looking and stuff, but it's coming up out of us and our DNA. So as a result of them, it was going to happen anyway, but they just upped it a little bit by doing the little ritual, trying to get Baron Samedi for them. They woke this particular energy up. Now Baron Samedi is equal, he rules over the graveyard. He's equally ruled by this deity. This is another representation. This is an older representation of the goddess called Maman Brigitte. Now Maman Brigitte rules equally with Baron Samedi. You can get all that in this particular. This is a good little book on the Voodoo Visions. I think all the good ones are out of print, but you go online and get this. And this is interesting here because you want to deal with Brigitte. And this is her color is purple or lavender. That's why we got the purple top hat. And one of her emblems is the black rose. As the black rose. Now, the gray hat also represents marriage, which is very key when you're dealing with the whole inauguration that went on. Now we got to explain this Obama thing because people are taking it off the wrong path.
That's right.
And they're getting disappointed and stuff like that. But then again, they're looking at this the wrong way, and we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But we're going to go to a quick question and answer. But this is interesting here because on page, let me see if I think it's page 170 or one something. It's interesting why you want to deal with Brigitte. Let me get my glasses and see if I can find this thing. The reason why you want to deal with Brigitte, and I think this is a great interest to black people, well, the first thing that happens here is the first person you meet, they say when you die, certain people come to the funeral that you didn't think was going to come. Certain people that you thought was going to come don't show up. Then you die, and they put you in the dirt. Several things started happening, and after all of the busyness clears out in a couple of days, then the first person you see is Brigitte comes. And she comes to take you to the other side. The goddess Brigitte. It's interesting about Brigitte, because Brigitte is also found in Ireland. Very interesting here on this whole Irish thing. As we go on, we got a lot of other stuff. So Brigitte is found in Ireland. Another thing is, oh, that's some geese out there? Oh man, well okay, that's spiritual. That's spiritual. We'll take that. Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, we so used to the asphalt jungle until nature shocks us. You know, and stuff. I'm from South Carolina, a little small town like Mayberry. So after growing up there, I didn't want nothing to do with anything that resembles the country. So I've been on a retreat. Although I grew up in a small town, about like Mayberry, they had a theater, they had all the stuff that's just miniature and stuff like that. But it's a real weird town and stuff like that, because the town is not there anymore. It's like it disappeared. Just a few houses standing. But when I looked, it was almost like I went into a whole other dimension. I'll go into that in a few minutes. But this town is unlike any other town. I mean, the kind of levels on what these Negroes would stoop to in this town was unbelievable. It was like legendary and stuff. Was legendary. But Brigitte is what you want to deal with. It's because Brigitte is instrumental, and I want to read this too. Let me get my glasses. That's what happened in the 40 plus crowd. I'm 47. The same. Me, Barack Obama, Eddie Murphy, Wynton Marsalis, Larry Fishburne, all of us the same age. Forrest Whitaker, the 47 crowd, you see. But I wanted to read something here. You adjusting? Okay, that's good. Okay. This, like I said, this is the filmmaker we got here. So for the people, if you want to, move around, you don't want to bust Sister Angela out, but I see she's riding limousine style. Limousine style and all. But this is interesting why you want to deal with Brigitte. And some of you black women or black men might be happy about this. I want to read something to you. In my neighborhood, a woman with whom I work called on Mother Brigitte, because Mother Brigitte, she's talking about several women where she worked. She say because most of their sons are in prison. Sound familiar to some of y'all Negroes up in here? Most of their sons are in prison, but put there by a legal system on purpose. And you see what I'm saying? And on purpose of actually locking up African American youth, teenage males. And they love their sons, so they call on Mama Brigitte because she gets the sons out of jail. So that's just the note. You know what I'm saying? Because if you black, somebody in your family gonna get incarcerated. You see, on some kind of level. You see what I'm saying? On some kind of level. And ain't nothing wrong with that. We understand that the system we live in. But Maman Brigitte is the one you call on to get your children out of jail. You see what I'm saying? To get your child out of jail. You see what I'm saying? So this is very interesting here. This is very interesting. So what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to go and call a libation out, pour a libation. And then what we're going to do, we're going to break up this thing a little bit. We're going to go into a question and answer. Then we're going to go into the lecture because we got a lot to cover. We're going to go into the lecture. And now what you want to do, you want to go now. Because whenever times get hard, that's when they really start cracking down on getting you on the highway and giving you tickets and stuff. So what you want to do is you want to go out to Party City. I think they got a Party City up on Roswell Road. They got one South Lake Mall. Go to Party City and get you a $2, I think it's a $2 or $3 top hat, and put it in your automobile. $2 or $3 top hat and put it in your automobile. You see what I'm saying? And therefore, you can shield people from stopping you, because the energy is on. You see what I'm saying? You know, it's real powerful. You know, right now. And this is also, the top hat is healing. You know, so this is interesting here about the Baron Samedi thing here is, if you're a Mason, the worshipful master, which is the head Mason, has to wear the top hat in ceremony. Up until recently, and they just stopped it, Barack Obama would have had to wear the top hat to get inaugurated. Because Reagan, now they might have stopped it on purpose because they didn't want to get that kind of power. Because the last person I saw that had it was Ronald Reagan. I don't know, you know, with the ducktails and the white bow, you know, the white bow tie. That used to be the tradition and stuff like that. Now, apparently what they say in Haiti is that Baron Samedi, and I can understand why they try to wake him up. Because in Haiti, they say that Baron Samedi is the head master mason in the cosmic celestial realm. So he sets over the master mason in the cosmos. So I can see why the Skull and Bones would want to try to usurp that power. It helped us out now. You see what I'm saying? It helped us out now. You see what I'm saying? So not only that, the top hat is also for healing. Now the reason why we got the gray hat it represents marriage. That's because this is the one they would have when they would have the weddings. It's the gray top hat. So what happened was, during the inauguration, they told me I needed to get the gray top hat. So I went to Little 5 Points, and they had one left, but the little band on the inside started coming apart. So they took the top hat down. It was $70. They took it down to $50. And I'm like, well, damn, I'm gonna pay $50 for it, and it ain't perfect. And so we walked out of the building in Little 5 Points on Jumpman's daughter. Walked out of the building, and the sister Tracy had just gotten a brand new BMW SUV, and we got there, and the doggone key would not unlock the car. She was mad. She said, I can't get in the car. So what happened was, I said, hold on 1 minute. I said, hold on. I said, wait, I said, look, give me your money. I told Linda, give me the rest of that money. And I went in there and bought the top hat. As soon as I bought the top hat, the car unlocked. As soon as I bought the top hat, the car unlocked. So this is what happened. They needed me to get the top hat based on inauguration. Now, based on inauguration. You see, now, the gray one for the marriage, and that's the marriage between Brigitte and Baron Samedi. Several marriages went on. So now this is one of the deals. When it came to the Obama thing, we're looking at this the wrong way. If I told the people, I said, now look, this whole concept here that's going on with Obama has nothing to do with the actual person.
Right.
First thing people started doing is I said, so, you know, after the inauguration, after the election, the inauguration and all of that, you don't need to worry about the politics or what's going on in everyday life. And what the first thing to do is black people following this thing every day, thinking they're going to get something from Obama. Now, how you going to get something from any president can you tell me when you got something from any president in history, period, black or white? I'm not trying to say but the point I'm trying to make here is, we completely missing the point. Obama was simply, what went on, the inauguration, what went on with the win is a symbol of our rise. Those are just figures. Hell, how could this be a redeemer? Hell, even if you say he's only got 8 years, you can only be 8 years, or 4 years if they defeat him. So my point here is how can this be sequential to him getting you out of a certain situation in 4 doggone years?
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? The key here is you got to look at this on another level that has nothing to do with Obama, only the image, the representation of black people's rise, the representation of Isis and Osiris. You see, but if you're looking at this thing on a political level, we'll tell you, we got extra chairs, so whenever we fill them up, you can well, let me see now. This zone here, you gotta go this way. Man, no, you have to go this way. This is the camera right here. We like in Hollywood right now.
There's a lot of us coming up.
Yeah, I know. We gotta. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And we got enough. We got enough chairs too. We got enough chairs. It was designed for you and mine. So now, one of the keys is the inauguration. The inauguration represents the return of the pharaonic world.
That's right.
The pharaonic dynasty.
That's right.
The return back from the double White House.
That's right.
If there's a double White House, then you see one White House built by slaves. Then where's the other White House? There's 2 White Houses. It's called a double White House in Egypt. Where's the other White House? The other White House is a collective body of an ancestral people and a genetic people. You are the return of the double White House. There's the house of the living, which is the White House. Then there's the house of the dead. Well, you some dead ass folks. But they're also talking about dead. They're talking about an ancestral heritage. An ancestral heritage. So there's the house of so it's the return of the double White House. You can also, there's a book on Rosemary Clark's books. You got 2 books out.
Egyptian mystery and magic.
One is called
Mysteries of Egypt and the magic.
It's Rosemary Clark. One is called there's something else Sacred Mysteries.
Yeah.
Sacred Mysteries.
Magic.
Huh?
Sacred Mysteries.
Sacred Mysteries of Egypt, Rosemary Clark, and Sacred Magic.
Right.
The Rosemary Clark and the Sacred Mysteries book, they break down that pharaonic house, the double house. The double house. You see what I'm saying? They really break that down. But so, we're talking about a double White House. So the thing about it here is people are looking at Barack Obama and all the little stuff they do, and they're finding they're getting upset because the simple fact here is he's not the idea of what you thought your freedom might be. But what you don't realize is your freedom only can be manifested through you.
That's right.
And he was just a symbol of that. Now to let you know he was a symbol of that, 2 things. This past weekend, the Queen got caught trying to do an old thing where you take the native and draw that energy from them. So Michelle came in, because that's the key. If you notice, I told people, I said, y'all looking at Barack? It's the fucking woman from Congo, from the slavery. You see what I'm saying? That's the superstar right there. And I'm going to tell you something. When it came to the Queen, Barack Obama wasn't even a part of the shit. That whole thing was interface based on Michelle. As a matter of fact, she greeted him first. She was the first to shake the Queen's hand. Then the Queen, they got all mad because they say, but Michelle touched him, which drew the which put the focus on it. And then they come to find out that when they showed the film, it was the Queen that grabbed Michelle. And then hand slid down by her booty.
Yes.
And you got to understand the science on this. Now, Quaker Mutua tells you how to take a young girl and put her in the bed with an old man. And the old man gains strength and energy. And you say it's in the Bible too.
It's in their Bible.
Yes.
It's in the Bible. In the where they take they say what was it? A young girl sleeps with the older man.
Yeah.
They don't go to the mystery, but they don't go to the whole ritual in there, but they tell you what's going on. Now, it's not by mistake that this happened on Tuesday. Happened on Tuesday now. It's not by mistake. Not only did it happen on Tuesday, it happened 2 days after a miraculous event called what is it? The #1 ladies detective agency. Aired on HBO with Jill Scott. Now what happened with the mystery broke was they were stealing the little African boys, and if they get the finger, they can do all kind of healing, they can regenerate stuff, but they didn't, but you know, they get the little finger off the little boys. They were showing you there was a whole magical thing by taking the young children and getting their energy from it. They did a whole thing on South Park on this, how they take the young children around the world, indigenous children, and get their energy. So now, the queen, when she comes in, every other queen she met was a queen, except by her being a black woman, and by her being with history, that was the goddess. So she had to hug her first and got caught. That's an old trick where they get your energy. If anybody used to wear dreadlocks, not now, but let's say from the 1980s on back, a lot of black people used to complain how white folks would come up and grab their dreads. And they were like, wait a minute, hold on, you wouldn't, how would you think if I came up and grabbed your damn hair? But what they didn't realize was them white folks was grabbing them dreads to get that energy. So that's an old thing where you go and you hug the native or the indigenous person to get that, and that's why the queen broke off that hug and then went down by the booty. We got it on film. And the queen only shakes with one hand, not unless it's the closest of friends, but she both greeted Obama and Michelle with both hands. That's to get that energy. To get that energy. Let me give you some notes on this, because #1, she sets the protocol to the side when it's good to meet her. And why did she choose April 1st, April Fool's Day? #1, I don't know, somebody might know the story because the Moors talk about it. Anybody know the story about the Moors and April Fool's Day or something? I know it's in one of the books, that guy's book, the white boy's book that wrote Peter Moon book. He started getting into the Moorish thing, and there's some story about April Fool's Day and something about the Moorish conquest or something. Some kind of something happened on the seas or something in some maritime war and whatever the thing he is, and it was like an overthrow of some other last overthrow of the Moors. Because remember now, the Moors, see, this is one of the histories here, and see, Freeman talks about that the Moors, after they were ousted from Spain, they just got on ships and became the pirates. So most of those things that you see, those pirate things, are actually, you know, white man never been nowhere. How the hell he gonna be the masters of maritime? He ain't never been nowhere. They was thinking the earth was flat. So we know that the only people who could have been on those ships at the time was the Moors. So it has something to do with that. But this is interesting. Let me get my notes here. Let me get my notes. Then we're gonna go into a question and answer. Then we're gonna start the lecture. We're gonna pull libations. We're just doing things several ways. Let me get my notes here. First of all, this is another thing. This is the other science. This is the #8. Now, come on, Linda, come up for a minute. You know, I always gotta come on now. You always gotta bust her out. She's a private person, but I always put her on the camera and stuff and embarrass her and stuff like that. So anyway, this is my queen, Linda. And it's interesting here because I think a lot of prosperity started coming to me whenever I hooked up with her. You see what I'm saying? Now this is the #8. We're gonna go into a lot of stuff. Now she got some little small 8s, and I'll tell you something. You take this 8 and put it in your wallet. You put this thing in your wallet, and the money returns.
Put this where your bills are.
And the money returns.
And
so she got some small 8s. We got some small 8s, about 20 of them. So the first come, first serve. You cut them up, put them in your. I got one in my wallet.
Yeah.
And the money returns. Now this is interesting. Yeah. Where did this money come from? Hold on now.
I'm telling you, money.
Where did the money come from?
I don't know.
I didn't have no damn 100. You know, I don't walk around with no 100 in my wallet.
It's the aid. I'm telling you.
I swear to you, I swear to God. I swear to myself. This thing works. So you got some little H and you cut them H's out and put them on. So you want to get one of them H's for $5. Trust me. This thing works. So we dealing with stuff that actually works. So that actually works. Now it's another thing. Now we just got back from England in June. A lot of spiritual stuff happened in June. Now, when she first came, we addressed her as Babylonia. I said her name was Babylon. She said, no, it's Babylonia. You probably heard that on the tape. We did 2 tapes, Babylonia, the Mystery of Love and Sex. Now, it's interesting, because when we went over to England, we didn't know, when we went over to England, that they was doing a ceremony for her at the British Museum. A return of this goddess that they was looking for, called Babylon or Babylonia. And the day that we went, and I was doing the lecture in London, they was doing this ceremony at the British Museum, and then the third, and we did 3 days of lecturing, and on that Monday, we went into the oldest occult store in Atlanta, in England, called Atlantis Bookstore. And what it was is, there was 2 reasons why we went over there. One of the reasons we went over was this guy had come out with this book that had, well, I don't think the book was going to even be put out in the West. They was just going to put it out in England. And we went up in there. The woman who was in there was under a trance, and she ended up selling us the doggone book. And a book called Babylonia, or Babylon, the Red Goddess. So you're going to have to go on the internet to get this, because, and she was wearing red at the time. And the woman sold us the book. The books was in some boxes. And I said, what's in them boxes? She said, that's a book. They just did a ceremony to the Babylon, and they sold us a book. Let me get the author's name, so you might gonna have to go on the internet to get it. You see what I'm saying? Because there's some books that they don't and this one is signed. This one is signed by the author, and they was actually celebrating the rise of the printing of this book. And they had the ceremony at the British Museum, and we ended up getting the book and bringing the book back across the Atlantic when I don't think it was supposed to occur. Either the woman, she got caught. Whether she was supposed to sell me the book anyway, it's against the law not to sell something that you got for sale in the store. I don't know what it was, or maybe she was under a trance, because we was able to get this book out of England. I think the guy's name is, the book is called The Red Goddess by Peter Gray. Peter Gray. And was able to get this book, and this is the book. And I told her, I said, well, this is the goddess you looking for right here. And it went over the woman's head. She was smiling and she doing all this kind of stuff. So there was a lot of other stuff that actually happened. That actually happened at that particular time. So what we're dealing with now, we're dealing with some really high magic, and the shit works. It works. And so I'm gonna go into the science on this and all. Going to the science. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour libations. And then we're going to go into the lecture. We're going to spit the rum to Baron Samedi and the whole host. One of the real good ones you want. Let me see that I write it down. I went to Charlotte, and a guy gave me a drink of some scotch, and I said, oh God, I ain't never drank nothing like this in my life. And it was single malt scotch called Nadira. Single malt scotch. And it was a fifth that cost $60. I went to a whole nother level on this thing. And then I remember there's a movie called Malice, and what's the woman that played, the movie with Malice, with Alec Baldwin, and it was Alec Baldwin. Somebody else played in the movie, and the woman that played in The Graduate as the seducer of what's her name? Anybody know The Graduate? She just died recently.
It's not Crawford, is it? It's not Crawford.
No, it's not. It's no. Huh? No. I tell you her name. You was almost close to it. Anne Bancroft. And the guy brings her some single-malt scotch, and she said, because she's an alcoholic, and she was like, oh, this is some classy shit. This is single-malt scotch. I've heard about this on the movie Single-Malt Scotch. And this nigga gave me some, and I'm like, what the hell? What is going on here? I went to another level with this thing here. And I said, well, I said, how much did this thing cost? He said, $60. They sell it at Greens and all that. I mean, they sell it here just, you know, that ain't in the black people's line of work. You know what I'm saying? Most people, and you know, but it's interesting. The brother used to be a promoter in the rap industry. So he was rolling on that, you know, that bling bling type, that high end Jay-Z stuff. You know what I'm saying? The high end Jay-Z stuff. And it was one of them. I think it was I don't know what the one they're doing. Well, everybody's doing the Patron now. But before that, it was the Cristal. And then the Cristal people made a statement that they didn't want black people drinking their drinks. And as a result, Jay-Z came on and gave them another alternative liquor, and they started buying that. And now the Crystal people, they say that they stuff plummeted. They stuff plummeted. They say that it just went to an all-time low. You see what I'm saying? Underestimating black people's dollars. So somebody mentions Patron on a rap, and now everybody's with the Patron, which is owned by the same guy. Paul Mitchell owns that, the hair care man. So the Patron thing. But so this brother was a rap promoter, and you know, a rap promoter up until the early 2000s. So by the time I got to go to stay with this brother in Charlotte 3 weeks ago, this nigga hands me some stuff in the high-end world, Jay-Z and whatever people, and I'm like, wait a minute, this $60 for a fifth. But anyway, but what you want to do is to go and, like, you want to go to Greens or somebody, and you want to ask them, because they will order the liquor. You want some stuff called Devil Springs vodka. That's the one you want. Devil Springs vodka. You can get the spirits love it. They drink it down in a day. They drink it down in a day. But when I saved the bottle, because he bought me a bottle, so I saved some of that double malt scotch for them. And they killed that in a couple of hours. It was gone in maybe 2-3 hours. It was gone. You see. So but like I say, you know, like the movie said, you know, where there ain't no alcohol, the spirit said we can't go. You get the movie, like I said, that movie Forbidden Kingdom. You see what I'm saying? So anyway, gonna pour some scotch, some rum to burn Samedi, and the rest of them we're gonna go to a question and answer after we pour the libation. But what I'm gonna do here is we got some other stuff. This is Bobby Hemmitt's libation list. So we're gonna go off of this one. You know, I had this in the late 90s, early 2000s. But what had happened was we had a little family fight with me and the Orishas. You see what I'm saying? You know, they decided, you know, they didn't care for a Negro or whatever for a minute. But it was a family fight. But then I realized that they was actually complimenting me. Because they were like, what kind of magic you rolling with that the gods got to come against you? That means that you are significant. You just, you know, they said the God. But they did say something. See, they will say things, and then you say, oh, that's some foul shit. And then you try to hear what they say, and when you got to grow into it. They say, we don't even like humans. We don't even like humans. I said, that's some foul shit to say. Then I realized what they meant. They're saying the humans don't like to come to us until they get in trouble. You know, the same thing about that church thing. When you're in trouble, then you go to the church and start praying and all that kind of stuff. So they say they don't even like to even access us. They don't want to get with us. They don't want to deal with nothing until when they need some money or they need some healing, then they roll up on us. So they were saying that's why they did not like humans. You see what I'm saying? That's why they didn't not like humans. You see, so, but anyway, so we had a little warfare that went on for a couple of years, and then from 2001, and then in 2007, I went to Detroit, do a lecture. I didn't know why I was there because it was a white college, and I went in to do the lecture. Only had 2 black people in each room. And I said, well, I don't, for Black History Month. So I did my little thing about 30 minutes. But when I was up in there, it was almost like being at the AU Center. Because now this is 2007. This is seen shift about 20-something years or close to 30-something years of hip-hop. And all the white people, the energy, I'm like, I'm bugging out. I'm like, this energy is the same as I was being at Clark or Morehouse. The energy is the same. And the little white children, they hip-hop. They hip-hop generation. So the energy was the same. The energy was the same. So I said, but and so then the sister who brought me up, she said, we need to go to another college. I want to introduce you to a voodoo vokur and a Yoruba master. I said, okay. He said, first thing he did, he said, let's go out to my house. So first we went to an Ethiopian restaurant, ate Ethiopian. Then we went out this house and we started drinking. In his whole house, he had a room to each Orisha. And he had a big old Ogun pot. And I said, I don't know if I need to be up in this mug. I said, these niggas we've been at war for the last 7 years. But when I got up in there, it was real spiritual and serene. Then he had a garage. He had the voodoo spirits in one thing, and then he had the Apollo spirits that he just was getting into in the garage. He said, I don't bring them together and stuff. But he had every room. He had each one of his rooms was for the Orishas. And so he had a Yemenya bathroom. That's Big Mama. And it was all done up in blue. So I went home and did mine in turquoise. But what had happened was, so we were sitting there drinking. I said, it's real peaceful to say that you got Ogun. And Ogun told me he wanted to cut my damn head off. Said, nigga, I want to cut your head off. And the oil said, I want to kill your ass, nigga. And I was up in there drinking. I said, man, it's so peaceful. And then we got to the airport. When we got to the airport, my plane had already gone. I said, I know I don't be missing no planes. I don't be missing no planes. The woman said, well, this is one thing, for the people don't travel. If you miss your plane and you on the road, if you call the airport, you got to pay $70 to $100. But if you go to the airport, they just put you on the next flight out. So whenever you miss your plane, always go to the airport. If you go in the airport, they got to put you on the next flight. But if you call or you at your house, that's another $100 added on to your ticket. Or more than that now. So always go to the airport, and they'll put you on the next flight. That's one tidbit you know about travelers. Now, this is the key. The woman said, the flight is gone, and it's the last flight out. So you got to get on the next flight, which is 7 in the morning. So I said, oh, and so I said, no problem. So I called a lady who had brought me up. She lived in Detroit. The brother lived on the outskirts, he lived on a farm. He bought a whole farm for the Orishas. Serious business. That's how serious this brother was. And the spirits, the voodoo, so we went, so I called a sister in Detroit. I said, I missed my plane. I need you to come pick me up. She said, mine is almost 45 minutes to the airport if you got to get there 7:30 in the morning. She said, my man's house is only 15 minutes, the farm, from the airport. Because the airport is on the outskirts. So his farm was on, she said, you got to go back to his house. So I called Linda up. I said, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I said, I got to go sleep in this house with them damn old leashes. I said, what the hell? I said, man, I'm in trouble. So Linda was like, what the hell? How the hell you done missed the doggone? She said, hold on. She hung the phone up. She called back a few minutes with the payphone. I was at the airport. I gave her the payphone number. She called back. She said, Erzuli came through and said that the spirits want a truce. She brokered the deal. I said, okay. The guy come and pick me up. Very interesting. Very interesting. He comes to pick me up. he's a college professor, so he got these foreign students. So he come send me two people from, one guy from Yemen, one guy is from Iraq, but he's from Kurdistan. He's from Iraq, which is interesting because the ancient Ethiopian, the one I just showed you, this god here, Meletos, was worshipped in Kurdistan by the Yazidi tribe. Those are the people that, what's the name, gassed. You see, what's the name, gassed? You see, Hussein, the Kurds. So, you know, you want to sit down or whatever? Y'all short enough. Y'all come on through and get on over here. You want to go up? Yeah, okay, cool. Now, so he sent one guy from Yemen, one guy from Iraq, the Kurds. We get in the car to go to the brother's house. They're his students. I go in the gas station to get gas. I went and got some potato chips and a soda. One guy comes in and say, "Let me get that for you." I said, "Oh, okay then, hell." I was already there with the money out to pay. Well, get back to the guy. He said, "We get ready to go to a restaurant. We go to an Asian restaurant. There's the guy that's from Yemen, because the other guy was from Kurdistan, and he was talking about he was, you know, they Iraq and all that kind of stuff. They got a big Kurd community outside in Detroit, in Michigan. So we get to the restaurant, and we eating the food, and I go up to go get to pay for a juice, and the guy walks up. He said, "Tell me you didn't pay for that juice." He was real upset. I said, "I was getting ready to, but I didn't really pay for it yet." He said, "No, let me pay for it." And the professor came and said, "It's customary in these people's culture that the youngest person got to pay for whatever. And you disrespect them if you pay for anything." So he was the youngest in the group. You see what I'm saying? So he had to pay for the whole meal and everything. You see? And that's a part of their culture. You understand what I'm saying? That's a part of their culture and stuff like that. That's good when we need. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I go back to the guy's house and he says, "Ogun block you from going." He said, "What was your head?" I said, "Well, before I fell out with him, my whole family was Obatala." He said, "Well, you got to go sleep in Obatala room." Like I said, he had a room for every deity. Big ass farmhouse. Every deity. And all right. And I said, "Oh, okay." And he told me, he said, I sacrifice goats. He said, "I sacrifice all this stuff for them." He said, "I don't never ask them for shit." I said, "That is the reason why they chose you to broker this deal for the truths." You see what I'm saying? And I said, that is the reason, because he did, you know, we do things because that's why they said we don't like you. When we do things because when we get in trouble, we don't care about it, just like any other, you know. Like one guy came by my house the last time I did the lecture in 06, that Monday night, a nigga come by my house because he got a court case, he get ready to go to prison. And he get ready to get found guilty the next day, and he gonna come by my house at 12 o'clock at night. I'm like, "Nigga, why you didn't come by my house 2-3 weeks ago? Why do you wait till the last minute?" I said, "This shit is not gonna work. I said, you ain't gonna be able to conjure up nothing in no few hours." I said, "Be in CP time on your own court shit." You see what I'm saying? But anyway, I went and slept in the brother room, the whole 9 yards, and the truths happened. So what is happening now in the heaven realm is all deities. There ain't no such thing as dark forces, light forces, enemy. All the spirits in the heaven realm is now together. The only thing that is divided down here is the egos in man, us.
That's it.
That's the only left remnant of the whole cosmos. Because now the archangels are coming through. We're going to get into that. The archangels are coming through and stuff. And we're going to get into that in a few minutes after the question and answer. But that whole realm now, so now you can deal with all of them. The most demonic or whatever, because there is no division no more. It's all molded into one. Anybody seen the movie Dark Crystal? Where they had the Skeksis and they had the Gelfling, and at the end of the movie when they came together, it molded back into one entity. Well, that's what's happening on the whole cosmic realm now. They're all one. So the truths, when they say we want the truths, that was going on because that whole realm was going down at that particular time. You see what I'm saying? As far as a coming together of the spirit realm. So now all of them together. All of them are together. So want to go into the court. We're gonna pour libations. Let me see how many what I have to do is produce this list, because I had to shut it down because the brother Emiola was right. Emiola, who used to be a black media, said, Bobby, he called out 100 deities, and some of them deities don't like each other. You see, and he was right, because y'all found that out the hard way. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, they're all together now, so this thing here is really relevant. So we had to revamp this. So we're going to do is we're going to go to the Sister Brigitte, that's the lavender, that's the purple hat, and the black rose, because her thing is also the black rose. And we're going to pour to her, we're going to pour to Sister, we're going to pour to Brother Baron Samedi, Brother Baron Samedi, and let me put him up as the master of ceremony. As the master of ceremony, we're going to put Baron Samedi up. You see, since he is the worshipful master over the Cosmic Masonic Lodge, Masonic Lodge, they went down to Haiti, and they, another thing also, I want to say this too while we're on this Baron Samedi thing, to show you how powerful this was. Now, Baron Samedi started coming to me in June and July. So I said, I think I need to get a top hat. So the brother in England said, well, I got to, damn England. We got a whole store of these things. Want me to send you one? I said, no, wait a minute, we going to see something. I don't know, they must have wanted me to go on a journey. So I went to Party City one night and got two little $2 top hats. So Baron Samedi jumped on the Sister Kimberly and had her go out to a costume shop and get another top hat to put on this skeleton that I got to his particular altar. And then the top hat artist started. And then it started getting more elaborate and stuff like that. No, you see, it started getting more elaborate and stuff. And then then Baron Samedi, I had to add the little bones and all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? To activate it, to activate it. But one of the keys here is that's the crown. That's the crown. So these white boys in the first of 08 in Australia, which we're going to be dealing with tonight, Australia is very key. These white boys in Australia created a Baron Samedi energy drink. So they said, but before we release this, we need to get on a plane and fly to New Orleans, and we need to go get authentic. We want to get the authentic people. They would say, no commercial. So they say, first of all, no commercial. We're not going to, and these is white boys. They said, we're not going to go to no white people. We got to get the authentic people to give us the blessing so they can get in touch with Baron Samedi, because we don't want to put this drink out here and Baron Samedi come and mess us up. Because believe me, he's got some real strong power. And since July, I have seen some things what he has done to people. He has done to people and messed a lot of people up. That's how powerful he is. But I don't want you to get all spooked out by it. You see what I'm saying? Get all spooked out by it. It's just that these spirits don't like ulterior motives. So you got to be true with your heart. Always deal with your heart. Now check this out. So they had to get on a plane to fly to New Orleans, and they went down and met 3 voodoo priests. A man, this other younger woman, and the woman Mama Lola. Mama Lola, I think her name is, used to be out of New York. Anyway, they met and they had to go and give an offering to Marie Laveau. And they had to pull down Baron Samedi. When they pulled him down, he said it was all right to release the drink. You see, but they got a whole documentary on this thing. A brother sent me from London, England, and also I got it at the crib too. You see, so we're gonna pass out some of my tape lists too, and that way you can get access to that too. So anyway, we're gonna pour the Baron Samedi, and then we're gonna go into a quick question and answer. Let me see. So let me do something.